All right, ready? Get you
out of me! Get the demon out of me! Well, it'll come out sometime. Better not make it puke.
Oh, no way. Oh my god! No way! Oh my god!
Everybody to episode 115 of 1 million of the Serial Chillers podcast. As always, I ask, how goes it? Hello, Greg.
I'm good, man.
I am also here with Mama Shy and Danae, but we'll get more of them in a moment. But first, most of you know how the show works. Let me explain it for anybody that doesn't. Each week, I sit down with old friends, new friends, good friends, and bad friends to tell them the story of an infamous serial killer, something true crime, dark, creepy, unsolved, or otherwise mysterious. If something isn't clear, be sure to chime in, because if you have questions about the questions, be sure to ask questions, because I can't answer questions about questions if you never ask questions.
Ask questions.
Are there any questions?
Not as of yet.
Yeah.
Am I a good friend, a bad friend, or an old
If
friend?
you don't know, that's
You
the
don't
problem.
know.
Is it if you never ask questions or never asked questions?
Ask.
Ask.
Did Danny put... Does it say asked?
Oh, no.
The second one is asked.
Oh, no.
Yeah, the second one is
yeah.
correct.
Yeah,
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 the
yeah.
second-
Never asked.
first
Yeah,
one
yeah.
is asked, second one is asked.
Okay,
If you never asked questions.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Cool.
Asked
No,
when
Yeah,
asked.
okay.
Oh, wait, so
First one asked, second one asked.
I was like, I'm playing along, and then I was
Yeah.
like, wait a second.
Do we have a typo in the new stickers?
Damn.
Even if we did, we're selling all 50 new fuckers first.
Limited edition.
Limited edition.
Limited.
Misprint.
Hey,
So,
they're worth more.
a follow-up question. Do you guys actually ever have bad friends on here?
Yes.
Hi, my name's Greg.
All right, all the questions are out of the way. Then
right.
welcome to and let's play the Serial Chillers podcast. That rocks. That was good, right?
I hear that theme song real
Love it.
strong.
Shreds.
All right, today's event. Tell me, have you guys heard of the murder of Kaitlyn Arquette?
Where and when did it happen?
Cheater.
Question
Where's
number
Mo?
1. In what year did this event take place?
Kaitlyn Arquette sounds like a pretty reasonable name.
Don't you think in your head. You have a competitor right next to you.
I'm mumbling.
We can all hear you in the headphones. You're speaking into all of our ears.
It's my inner talking.
It's not inner when it's outer.
It's just
Also-
the inner's just really loud.
All right, you guys got answers written down?
Got it.
Cheyenne, what year did it
I said 2012.
I said 1992.
1992. This event took place July 16th, 1989. Give Danae 250 points.
Wait, it happened July 16th, 1989?
Yes.
That's my birthday.
Yeah?
Hey.
Yeah.
Like the day you were born?
Literally the day I was
We
born.
had that happen
Oh
once
my
where
God.
it was mine. I was like,
Yeah.
what the fuck? I don't
Yeah,
know, what
no,
the hell?
that's literally my birthday.
Yeah. Oh, that's what it was. Somebody guessed it. Somebody
Yeah,
guessed it as
somebody
their
guessed
answer.
you.
And I was like, what the fuck? That is the day I was born. It was not somebody who knew my birthday.
Oh, wow.
It was a trip. Okay, 250 points to Danae on that one. Let's do some full guest intros, guys. Most of you know Mama Shy. Welcome back, Mama Shy. A regular, a fan favorite. Have you won any time recently, though?
No. Come on. I'm not competitive, though, so I'm okay with
Mama
losing.
Shy ain't here to win. She's here to support. That's why
yes.
we call her Mama
yes.
Shy. Danae has been here before. You guys might not recognize the voice or the face because she is part of that 4 episodes
the great
of
crash
Lost.
of 2022.
I was gonna say, what do we call it? The Purge?
Yeah,
The purging.
I'm gonna call it the fuck.
Okay, well, thank you for being part of the fuck of 2022.
You got to turn away from the mic, Shy.
No, it's me. I do everything wrong.
Yeah, so second time in the studio.
Yes, and Danae lives a couple hours away, too.
Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming and kicking my ass already.
I'm trying.
Well, Shy, as we say, there's plenty of time. Let me give you guys a few references for this show. Who Killed My Daughter? A book by Lois Duncan. On to the Wolves by Lois Duncan. Unsolved Mysteries website, because there was an episode that involved this murder, so you've probably seen it because you fucking love Unsolved Mysteries.
I do.
I may have seen it. I just take in so much true crime that sometimes
It all mumbles together.
It's not until we get into it that I'm like,
and not all of Unsolved Mysteries is true crime, so you know what I mean? Like,
true.
sometimes it's like, were there aliens out there that day?
Could have been.
KateArquette.com and Wikipedia. That's Kate Arquette up there, if you guys would like to see her. Lovely lady. Really quickly, before we get too far into the show, biggest shout out to Kelly G, a research assistant. We have people who help out with research, and then we have Kelly G, who literally writes... I mean, this is not... I'm not
16
saying...
16 pages or whatever.
Well, that's what I was just going to say, is this is not... Kelly G is a research assistant on this episode. This is full writing credit. I am hosting an episode that Kelly G wrote today. All I did was break this down in a way that I could read it easier, put it in bullet points, essentially. This is almost word for word Kelly G's outline.
more of
a
show outline.
Yeah, she writes in prose. I take it and turn it into an outline. That's really so. Anything that is changed is just because I stopped reading and was like and just started spitting shit out. But
so Kelly G, let us know if Jesse's full of shit.
Yeah, she will. But we got a good relationship going. Kelly G's awesome. In fact, I think Greg hosts the next show. The one following
Spoiler.
that. Yeah, the one following that is another Kelly G, almost fully written episode. It's going to be a two-parter. One part Kelly G, one part me. So do each other here, though. So it's good. So I reformatted it so I could read it like the dummy I am, and Kelly G wrote it all. So can't thank Kelly G enough. Thank you if you're watching, Kelly. If you're listening, thank you, Kelly. I waved at the camera or something. I can't even remember what I did now. Follow us on the social media grams, guys. Instagram and TikTok are really all we're available at. And we're not even really available there that much. But those are at Serial Chillers Podcast. YouTube is the same. Threadless store. We've got a sticker store at serialchillerspod.com. We have 2 new stickers. I think we talked about it last week. I need to get them in the store. I will today, which means you guys will have it by the time you hear this. I swear to God, you're not going to have to cut this out, Greg. That's it. There'll only be 2 designs in the sticker store for now. Jesus. Because all of the originals are sold out or waiting for Patreon. So, oh my God, shut up. But everything can be found at serialchillerspod.com. Go there. The links
Almost
take you
everything.
everywhere you need to go. Also,
The rest can be found at lonelyfanswith2z's.com.
give to the Patreon, guys, if you can. You can give as little as $1 a month. You can give as little as $5 a month and get your episodes 1 day early. Greg's on top of that. So that means Wednesday at midnight, episodes available to you to listen to Patreon.
Well,
there's a Patreon app.
Thursday at midnight.
Thursday morning. Yeah.
12:01 a.m. on Thursday.
It's technically
Exactly.
0-100 hours.
Yeah, 0-100 hours. It's no day, you guys, but it will be available. And you can listen to that on your computer, but also Patreon has an app that you can listen to those through. So please enjoy that. Shauna, give to the Patreon. We know you're listening. And if you give to it, you get access to cool stuff. And we send you stuff, too.
Yeah.
Those
Shauna.
stickers we talked about that are not available to purchase anymore, they're in that wooden box over there. You can't see it on camera, but I'm pointing to it. And those go out to the Patreon people. Also, all these little cards that people, you guys know how it works. Give it to the Patreon and you get hooked up. Join the Discord if you want. We've got a community of great people hanging out, doing Discordly stuff. But it's not just about serial killers. It's about video games and it's about cooking. I think cooking might be getting the most play recently.
Yeah.
That's because we're all in our 30s.
Yeah, exactly. We're discovering we can do this. If you want to send any cool drugs, send them to P.O. Box 1229 Clovis, California, 93613. If they're extra dangerous, remember attention at Hello Greg.
No fentanyl, please.
Yeah.
I mean,
Serialchillerspod.com.
I got nothing going on.
Serialchillerspod.com for all of this information. All right, guys. We're getting started like an hour and a half after we were supposed to. Thank you guys for your patience and all that good stuff. And I tell you, July 16th, 1989 in Albuquerque, New Mexico, young Kaitlyn Arquette is visiting her parents. Her mom is Lois, an accomplished writer who was published even before turning 14. Lois had 3 children from a first marriage, and in her second marriage with an electrical engineer, Don, had 2 more children. One of these children was Kaitlyn, or as she was referred to often, as Kate. She was the youngest child and born with a slight indentation on her cheekbone. She was such a lovely young child, said her mother. Question number 2. What did they call that indentation on her face? Did they call it A, an angel's kiss? Did they call it B, an angel dimple, a darling dimple, or God's fingerprint? Angel's kiss, angel dimple, darling dimple, or God's fingerprint? Also, let me introduce, Greg, if you could pull the camera up
No,
to them real quick.
Mo's giving her the answers now. Oh,
We
well,
also introduced, this is Namosini. We brought her a chair out. She wanted to be involved. She'll probably be sitting up here holding the hands of guests that she's comfortable with as often as we can.
If you hear her call her, that's what you're hearing. Like,
yeah, if you hear a little jingle.
Yeah, and you're just going to have to deal with that. So for audio purposes, there's a dog in the room. If you're
Good
watching
dog.
on YouTube, you see the puppers.
for video purposes, jingle jingle.
Yeah.
Jingle,
There's
jingle.
If you hear it, you know why. We
Pretty
call
good
her
girl.
Mo for short if you don't want to call her Namosini.
It's just Mo.
Maurice.
Momar.
Mosey.
Yeah.
And what did they call it? An angel's dimple, an angel's kiss, a darling dimple, or God's fingerprint?
I'm going to say A.
Oh,
An
I said
angel's kiss.
A as well.
Also, an angel's kiss. God, you guys, that's a freckle. Freckle is an angel's kiss, right?
Oh, fuck, it is.
They called it God's fingerprint.
Oh man, that was my second choice.
It's just like God was molding with clay, and he's all, oh, man.
Eh,
I know what a stork bite is.
you know what? I
What
was
is
like
a stork
debating
bite?
I've
between.
never heard of
Callie and Emma had them, the little red marks on their
They
face.
call it
Yeah.
stork bites.
Yeah, stork bites.
Oh really?
Yeah.
I've never heard of that.
Aggressive storks.
I mean, they're fucking wild animals.
They're enthusiastic about their job.
That's it.
Yeah. They're busy.
Throwing babies down.
I like to
chimneys.
think that the baby fell out of the swaddle and the stork had to like catch it by the head and just
That's what I
deliver
said.
it that way.
Enthusiastic. They care very much.
Storks throw babies down chimneys and they become folk heroes, and I do it once, and all of a sudden I have to move.
All of a sudden, I'm felonious.
Yeah, I'm not allowed to live here anymore.
All right. So the indentation is referred to by friends and family as God's fingerprint. Growing up, Kate is referred to as a goody two-shoes, a terrific student, and a trusted friend. And not in like the like bullies, like goody two-shoes. Like
Okay.
she's just a very
A
good
goody-
person.
yeah.
She's could do no wrong. Despite her outward good behavior and kindness, as the saying goes, don't mistake kindness for weakness. Kaitlyn was very headstrong and had a penchant for excitement by any means necessary, and as a literal child lacked the fully formed brain to make the best decisions.
Okay.
Right, like listen. Well, I think that's highlighting the fact that like as a child we make dumbass decisions, and
We do.
Kaitlyn like was really making
Dumbass
very
decisions.
no, she's making very like
Good decision.
Okay,
making
she's
good
making
decisions, but she did like to like.
The opposite of dumbass decisions.
I think she had like a little bit of a like she's like an adrenaline junkie.
So
like,
she was one of those kids who were really good, but they were almost too smart.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
they
yeah,
were
yeah.
like
Perhaps.
they were like
bored.
they
They were
were
like
like
tiny
doing
adults.
they were doing like dumb shit in smart ways.
I think that's exactly it. It's like not that I was one of those kids that
They're
was
like
too smart, but
I can
like,
get away with this by doing this.
I needed to be like jumping my bike like an 11-foot jump when really I was only capable of doing like an 8-foot jump.
She
You know,
took
It was like-
calculated risks.
yeah. That's exactly it. It's like, man,
But,
if I
you know,
pedal a little harder.
set attainable goals.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, also as a child, what she considered reasonable, like calculated risks were maybe still pretty dumb.
Yeah. But she held it together. She would also graduate high school and almost immediately move out with her boyfriend. We're all gonna laugh and then we're gonna get past it. Okay. His name is Dung Win. Because his name's Dung.
Gonna laugh at that.
All right.
Exactly. Okay, so question number 3. We're going kind of rapid fire. We're going to have a gap, I know. Question number 3. What was the name of the apartment complex that Dung and Kaitlyn moved into? I'm not asking you to guess. I got multiple choices for you.
I mean, I would hope that's a
Was it Alvarado Square, Canyon Springs, Saguaro Square, or West Creek?
Oh, I was going to call it Somerset Village. That would have been like if I had to guess from nothing.
That would be the hardest guess from like how would you like nope, no one gets points, or do you like guess
Yeah,
the
exactly.
closest? Whoever has the most letters that are similar.
No, nobody gets points. You didn't get it right. But I like to think there's maybe
Of
somebody
all the
who's
stupid, I just made all of these up and they're all right except maybe one.
none of the above.
All right, what was it, Danae?
I went with B.
Canyon Springs.
I went with C because when you said this, Mo slapped her arm.
Oh, Saguaro Square. I used to work at Canyon Springs. That's not it. I'm sorry. They would settle in at the Alvarado Square apartment complex.
Half points because you got the square part right.
See, I wasn't even being that original.
See, you know what? That must be it. I mean, I just listened to the episode where Greg talked about like the
Astral projection.
astral projection and stuff, and so I feel like you were putting out Canyon Springs, and since I knew you guys when you were working at Canyon
Maybe that's
Springs,
what it is. But I'll tell you something right now. There is nothing
I think
going
Jesse
on
cheated.
inside here.
Jesse cheated. He threw me off on purpose.
Nothing.
Have you seen that
going
video
on.
of like that one single brain cell in the petri dish looking for something to latch on? Oh, it's just a little cell sitting there, and then like these little things come out of it, and it's like branching out, looking for more brain cells to connect with.
Yeah, that's got to be.
I was
going
gonna say
on.
that's 100% what's going on up here. It's just
One day I'll get the crayon removed, and
And then there'll be nothing.
you're telling me there's a crayon in my brain? Oh yeah. Anyway, they settle in at the Alvarado Square apartment complex. On this particular July afternoon, Kay was not feeling it at all, even telling her mom, Lois, that cohabiting was a crock. She's not. She moved in with Dung and was like, "Fuck." I remember my first roommates, and I remember, like loving it, and then I remember being like, I need to just pay all this rent by myself, and I think you guys need to leave. I'd rather be poor than hang out with you anymore. Lois knew that Kate had plans to break up with Dung and have him move out and move a friend into the apartment that the two currently shared. So it seems pretty common for a breakup of couples sharing an apartment. Lois could also see that her daughter had been crying before ever arriving at her home to talk to her about it, but could see that she was taking it in stride. So I think at this point, Lois was like, I'm not going to mention it. She's like, she could see she was crying, but she's like trying to be tough. And if she wanted to talk about it, she'd talk about it, right? Yeah. She knows her daughter better than we do. Kaitlyn would also tell her mom that if she were to hear from Wynn that night, to please not let him know where she was. Lois also recalls Kaitlyn saying that she was headed over to her friend Susan's to have dinner and was going to stop and get some ice cream on the way. Around 6:15, she would leave her parents' home saying, "Later, see you guys later." And those would be the last words her parents ever heard her say. Later that night, Lois would receive a call from the UNM hospital and telling her that her daughter had been in an accident and they needed to hurry there. When they arrived, they had been told that Kaitlyn had been shot twice in the head. About 20 hours after the shooting, Kaitlyn would have a massive hemorrhage and succumb to her injuries.
the fact that she survived 20 hours after being shot in the head.
Twice.
Right, and
What
when
a
you hear
fucking
accident,
stud.
I think you're thinking
A
for
car
me,
accident.
you're like
Well,
a
yeah,
car
when you hear
accident.
an
She fell off a
Accident.
ladder.
That wasn't an accident.
Yeah, she got hit by a car.
She fell on two
know.
bullets in her head.
Yo, I totally fell on this bullet.
Doesn't seem accidental to me.
So let's dive deeper into some of the details to see if it becomes more clear. If anyone here, or anyone listening, an article in the Albuquerque Journal on July 18th, 1989 explains Kaitlyn was discovered in her car about 11 p.m. by police officers investigating what they thought was a routine accident. Someone apparently had pulled up alongside Kaitlyn's car and was moving the car, pulled up alongside Kaitlyn's car. As it was moving, the car went out of control and veered and struck a telephone pole. Days later, the same newspaper mentions that there may have been eyewitnesses, and there was a search for a beige Volkswagen that could have been there at the time. Do you guys remember anybody who drove a beige Volkswagen?
Was it? Oh.
Yeah, it was
Ted.
Yeah, I thought his was yellow though.
Yeah, was it?
I
It
thought
was
so.
yeah.
There are also reports that there may have been a chase between two vehicles, one of which being a gold question number 4 what sort of gold vehicle? Was it a Corvette, a Camaro, a Mustang, or a Firebird?
Oof, man, gold in any of those cars is fucking badass.
Which one you picking?
If I had a choice?
Yeah.
Gold Camaro all day.
Yeah. What year? Any year. You want like mid-'80s IROC?
Kinda, yeah.
Kind of like those
The T-top?
Like, I feel like those are like, you could probably go get one for like $900 now, but God, I kind of want one. Oh, okay. Corvette, Camaro, Mustang, or Firebird?
I said Mustang.
I said Corvette.
And you're both wrong. It was a gold Camaro.
Oh, damn.
Greg would have got his dream. He'd have seen it. And what year is it? It's like 1989,
Yeah,
right?
I was gonna
That's
say,
right
I'm
in
assuming
there.
it's brand new.
I guarantee you, whoever drove that Camaro did one of these.
Oh,
For those of you who can't see me on the video, you'll never know what I did.
which is all of you. Another eyewitness report claims that they saw Kaitlyn says that they saw Kaitlyn beaten and bloodied with a plainclothes police officer just after the accident. EMTs arriving on scene claim that they saw no police officers when they arrived at the scene. I think at this point, if you're listening to the show, you know that eyewitness testimony is kind of bullshit now,
Well, and
right?
how
Like,
do you-
it's very unreliable. It's a lot of people will see the same event very differently.
In a situation like this, like, how do you identify a plainclothes police officer?
That was my thought. I was like going.
when I go to
I always
that's a
I
very-
always think of the badge on the hip.
when I
it's
go
a
to
very specific description.
when I go to like concerts and festivals and stuff, I can spot them because it's a middle-aged white guy with a 3-day beard, Hawaiian shirt, jeans, and running shoes.
Absolutely.
Every time, and I have not been wrong. But like just out in public,
You just told them though.
that's legit. Anybody like that? That's I would say 70% of the people at Lowe's.
As someone who works in law enforcement and knows guys who do that type of security, I guarantee you that you're only picking out about a third of them. Because
That's fine, but I've been 100% on that.
no.
third.
I believe you, and believe me, that is a third of.
Yeah, that's those are the ones that don't give a damn anymore.
That is it's not an inaccurate description. But also, like, I know a lot of cops who do stuff like that who are like they're our age or younger, and
Yeah.
It's 21 Jump Street.
yeah,
I guess we're not that young anymore.
We're not.
Bro, you're in your mid-30s. Get the fuck out of here.
But I mean, like, people our age and younger, and like, I don't think you could pick them out and say, "Oh, that's a plainclothes." Like,
That's true.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
true.
I wouldn't give
so
a
I mean,
shit.
I feel like that description is very like,
A little misleading.
Well,
Objection
raises-
meeting.
unless
yeah, it
they
raises
did,
my
like I
eyebrow.
said, like when I always think of a plainclothes police officer as the dude who's like business casual with the
Yeah.
fucking badge on his belt.
Yeah.
Like that's always
Yeah.
the
detective?
the detective look.
Yeah, no, and that's
I
a
would
legit
call,
look.
I would
Undone tie.
wouldn't call him a detective because I don't know. I would call him a plainclothes police officer. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
they're clearly like dressed as a cop. They're just not in a uniform.
He's driving an
Like,
Yeah.
unmarked
he's got the
car,
gun on his hip. He's in a Crown Vic. Like,
But he has the little cherry that he puts on top when he has to get places.
yes, we're old, everybody. Greg wanted to not be old, and this is how he's
I was
not
gonna
dating
say,
himself.
actually, the slick tops they drive now, they've got the lights in the grill.
In the grill
Yeah.
and on the mirror and everything. I know.
Greg's an old guy. He's an old soul.
When
that's
I
all.
was a kid, we had to go out and hand crank the car to get it started.
and he was wearing an onion on his belt.
was the style at the time.
At the time.
I was a potato person.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
fair,
no
fair.
onions.
You could also wear the sack too.
Yeah,
so.
exactly.
I am bad at this. Buckle up for some possible bad police work, possible gang activity, and possible incorrect witnesses. Yes. Yes, prepare for it all. A logical solution
The
and
story has everything.
buckle up, Kelly G's really got us going here. A logical solution and first one the police check in most crimes where the victim has a significant other is checking out the
Yes.
significant other. Where were they at the time? What were
Absolutely.
they doing?
Especially when they're about to get kicked out of their apartment.
Right. An overwhelming amount of reasons you'd at least want to get Dong-Win in and ask him some questions. Kaitlyn was in the process of breaking up with him. She had avoided bringing him to her mother's that night. We'll come to find out that Dung is also involved in some shady business in California and some other Vietnamese men he knew. because he's Vietnamese. He's got this group of Vietnamese dudes, and he's into like some business.
Don't ever ask me about my business.
Yeah, like that's almost.
Slowly shuts the door like the end of The Godfather.
Spot on.
So, it would later come out that Kate had told many people about Dung's business, which the insides of it, and her distaste for them. She would later seemingly be a part of one of these businesses herself.
No, that was the CIA.
I'm pretty sure. Listen, I've got more information on the business, but I think I wrote a question about it later, so I'm being a little more vague now, and it's going to be more clear later. I'll just make sure I'm not giving away a question right now. She would later seemingly be a part of one of these businesses herself, involving her parents' credit card. She, Wynn, and his friend, who was the one who provided the alibi on the murder night, by the way, this is the friend she's hanging out with this time, told her parents that they were rear-ended in a rental car that she rented with their credit card. No big deal. It happens, and that is why we pay for the insurance, right?
Absolutely.
Get it, dude.
Don't ever get a rental car without insurance.
Yeah. They would later realize that during the same weekend, someone had paid Kate $1,490, which is about the amount of money one would receive for being part of a scam such as this, like, insurance bait and switch.
I like that there's an average on it. They're like, yeah, this insurance scam pays
I'm
out,
sure
but it only
that when
pays
there's
out
I'm sure when there's like
$1,800
scams like this, like that, it's like, yeah, we fucking know what happens. Like we have insurance for this.
You need 3 people to pull this off. You collect $5,600. That pencils out to about.
Right. Yeah.
Don't math us, okay?
Yeah, I don't like it. I'm confused. Kate being involved in one of these scams was dangerous for her because a lot of people knew who she was and that she knew too much. Dung was said to be notified by telephone and would arrive at the hospital around 3 a.m. of her accident. Lois and Don were already there. Both of them thought that Dung was acting strange. So he gets to the hospital like, I think it was 11 p.m. when it happened. He gets notified a couple hours later and shows up, and he's like, he's acting fucking weird. He's saying, well, I think we've got a quote here.
Well, okay, I'm not going to defend anybody in this, but I do want to know, how are you supposed to act in that situation?
No, I know people grieve differently,
and I'm just curious, like, what their definition of acting weird was. Was he
I'll tell you, he was acting distraught, and upon seeing an unconscious Kate, he said several times, "quote This is all my fault."
Oh well, okay,
yeah, that's a little.
Yeah, that's suspicious.
Yeah.
I
retract my previous statement.
It would also be suspicious if he was sitting on the floor in the corner building a card house. Like, that would be acting weird too, given the situation. I just don't know. I didn't know what he was.
I think he came in hectic. He sees her and then just starts saying, "Oh, this is all my fault."
A little buyer's remorse.
This is all my fault. Yeah.
That makes me think of the scene in Dexter after his wife gets killed and he tells the cops that he did it. And, I mean, he's a serial killer, so.
I'm not familiar. Spoiler alert for a 15-year-old show.
Do I have to give those?
No, I'm never going to watch that. So, yeah, Lois and Dawn notice his weird behavior. He was incredibly sad, and it was clear. Lois asked Dung to call some friends to be with him, and Dung replied, "I have no friends." Bothered by his behavior and the fact that he seemingly knew something, Lois told him that he needed to decide if he was going to tell what he knew.
She could sense it.
She could sense it, and it sort of seemed like he wanted to say something, but he wasn't saying it. So she's like, dude, you got to just fucking say. So Dung told Lois, "I know, I'm deciding." Saying weird things is one thing, but a few days later, Dung showed up at the funeral with a huge 4-inch gash in his stomach that required surgery. Question number 5. From where did Dung say that he got this large wound? Was it A, broken glass at home, B, a suicide attempt, C, a dog attack, or D, a mugging? Broken glass, a suicide attempt, a dog attack, or a mugging? What stupid answer would you give for...
So he showed up like clutching the gash in his stomach.
I think it was like one of those wounds that, like, even though it's dressed, it's like it's leaking.
Yeah.
You know?
So he comes with.
Well, I was gonna ask, like, how did they see this at a funeral? Like, are you not like
just bleeding through his shirt?
Well, I also think Dung's one of those dudes that's like, "Oh, I'll wear just the shirt and not an undershirt, and I won't dress it that well." You know, like, I think I get that kind of feeling,
vibe from him.
Yeah, definitely did that.
Oh, okay.
So was it broken glass at home, suicide attempt, a dog attack, or a mugging?
I said a dog attack.
Dog attack. A mugging. He told people that due to Kate's death, he was super sad, and then it was a botched suicide.
I was gonna.
He tried to
Gotta go
commit
we
Harry
talked
Carey.
about this
I
on the
know, Greg.
we talked about this on the astral projection episode.
You tell me every time, Cheyenne, go with your gut. Go with your gut.
Nobody listens
See,
to Greg.
no, I was like going like I feel like he would try to put the blame on something else outside of himself.
He's manic.
Yeah.
He seems quite manic.
He's all over the place. He's
I'm getting a vibe for him now. Like,
Yeah.
I think like
So
generally, like you would not say like, oh, well, I tried to kill myself. You would be like, oh, it was
a glass. I had to break a window in my house to get through, and holy
Yeah,
shit, I
whatever.
didn't realize how sharp it was.
But now I'm getting a vibe for him. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
So one can be made to wonder whether it was true that he was just hurting for his lost girlfriend, or if the injury was part of an attack that was done to keep him quiet as well. Although this is heresy, the hearsay. This is heresy! Although this is hearsay, the EMTs who responded to Dung's knife wound said that his home was in shambles, as if there had been an attack there. Or maybe he's just a fucking slob, you know.
Well, and
or maybe he had
never know.
he had torn the room apart the night before.
I was gonna say. It could have been. It could have been a situation like that where he was like pretty distraught and had himself a little breakdown through a hissy fit, and then that culminated with him trying to kill himself.
I'm not even a very unreasonable guy, and I've punched like 2 holes in walls before. Like, yeah, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, I like when I was going through my divorce, like I think our last fight, I was like throwing shit. And I'm not even the type of person. I don't even like to yell.
Like, I don't even have a good arm.
Like, I don't even like to yell when I'm in an argument. And so, like, the fact that I reached a point where I was like throwing shit, like
This is good. This is probably good. This
like
separation.
you can, yes.
Sometimes I yell in the car,
100%.
like by myself.
Yeah.
Because I don't get to yell. I have a really loud like yell, and the one time I yelled like recently, like as a man, a bunch of people just stopped, and like it was in an event where like yelling was okay.
Oh yeah.
And it still like made people stop and look at me, and I was like, oh, I don't want to fucking yell anymore.
Like, oh,
well, you guys
damn.
listen to the show, you know I be yelling.
But I'm just saying, like, it's not unreasonable to think that, like, in the throes of his grief,
Right.
he
I
just
also
kinda, like,
think that
lost it.
EMTs have probably seen a lot of shit, and they've also seen like a house a dude was knocking shit over in, and a house where like there was
That's
an
true.
attack here.
Yeah,
That's
there
true.
was like a physical
I'm
struggle.
not saying every EMT is like some grizzled veteran, but there are definitely some that have been doing the job for 10 years.
And there is
and imagine that.
and there's
Seen it
definitely a
all.
difference.
Yes.
Like, because there's definitely a difference.
So, another tenant of the Alvarado Square apartment said that it was a man named Adrian. Sorry, another tenant of the Alvarado Square apartment was a man named Adrian. Despite his being a skinhead, Adrian and Dung struck up a seemingly unlikely friendship. It's gonna be a fucking
Sounds like a buddy comedy.
yeah. Let's put it on during sweeps. Adrian claims
Especially
that
in the 80s.
yeah, the days before the murder, he drove around with Dung to follow Kate and make sure that the beige VW wasn't following her. So he was following her to make sure that someone else wasn't following her.
Okay.
Or maybe
Got it.
he was the
follower
follower the whole time.
Was he though?
But who is phone?
Adrian was in the beige VW.
Yeah. He's like, oh shit, it's us, man.
Are we the baddies?
We do have the skulls on our caps. So Adrian claims that this was a major worry for Dung and that he had followed Kate many times to make sure the car was not tailing her as well.
Weird.
There was another tenant in the complex who seems to have seen a man painting a beige VW black in the parking lot.
It's nothing. Spray paint.
Yeah, I just think
Come over here and hold this cardboard while I do the top of the hood.
Dung and Adrian are just like fucking on the lookout for this beige VW, and this guy's just in like a primer black. All, hey, not me. He's got a fake mustache and like the Groucho Marx glasses on.
I like to think that you can see the stripes too from the rattle can going by, so it's beige in between.
It's just like I only had 3 cans. I had to get as much coverage as I stood really far back.
It's all runny in spots.
Yeah. So then there was a note that Dung found at the apartment and turned into police saying that Kate had written it. The police took the note and booked it into evidence and seemingly believed Dung's story. The skeptics have a problem with this letter because many say that it isn't in Kate's handwriting, and besides that, Kate was an honor student who wrote eloquently when she did. The note reads, Han, how are you? I know you still mad. I'm sorry, okay? I miss you today. I went to Nam House and retune there. R-E-T-U-N-E. Retune their books. I'll see ya. Love. Now listen. I have a Vietnamese mechanic. And if he were going to write me a letter, this is exactly how he would write it to me. This sounds like somebody who
Doesn't sound like an honor student.
Doesn't speak the language, or doesn't speak the language as a first language, has picked it up, speaks it quite well now, but is like, oh, I need to cover for this. And Lois would say, this looks a lot like Dung's handwriting.
Take it, baby. Meet at bar.
Night
day
or
or
day.
night. Later sometime.
So many close to the case wonder how it is that the police believe that this is not written, that this was written by Kaitlyn. At this point, Kaitlyn was mentioned to almost all of her friends and family that she is fed up with Dung and that she would like him to leave the apartment. And he would leave around 11 p.m. most nights and did not return until dawn. So she's spilling the tea. You know, she's telling everybody, like, something fucked up is happening. I need this to be over. I think probably all of us have been part of a relationship that has ended either by our hands or someone else's. Regardless of that, you probably felt it coming.
Do you think
It's a tough fucking thing to go through. It's hard to just wake up one day and be like, today's the
I'm
day.
done.
It's over. Yeah, you know, like there's...
Do you think he maybe like in his manic state wrote the letter, and then when he returned, like when he woke up the next day and was a little more lucid, was
I'm
like,
open to any...
oh shit, this has got to be from her.
Oh.
You know what I mean? Like, wrote it to get some sort of closure because he was feeling guilty or whatever, and then...
Here's the thing, is Kelly G wrote this so well. Like, I could never have taken this story and written it this well. Like, it's like a movie, you guys. I can't wait to tell you the end. So at this point, Kaitlyn is mentioned to almost all of her friends and family that she's fed up with Dung. Again, he's leaving around 11 p.m. most nights, not returning till dawn. Lois started to get really suspicious of Dung and teamed up with a former journalism student and local investigative reporter named Mike Gallagher. Mike had recently done a series on prostitution in the area and was familiar with some of the more underground aspects of the area. Lois asked Mike if Dung's name had been mentioned around prostitution at all, fearing that her daughter may have been involved in something nefarious beyond her knowledge. Because again, remember, like, she's like, he's into business.
Don't ask me about my business.
Right.
Yeah, and also leaving at 11 o'clock at night and not returning until the morning.
Those are peak prostitute hours.
Yeah. So question number 6, Mike has heard Dung's name, but not involved with prostitution. With what was his name involved? Was it A, car thefts, B, insurance frauds, C, organized crime, or D, drugs?
Organized crime implies the existence of disorganized crime.
Oh, there's disorganized crime, buddy. Have you ever seen like the dudes who are stealing live copper wire and are just fried, still stuck to it?
Yeah.
Disorganized crime.
Okay, good point. Good point.
Car thefts, insurance frauds, organized crime, or drugs?
Look at me. I'm Homer Simpson. I don't need safety gloves. You wish.
You got your answer?
Got it.
What'd you say?
Insurance fraud.
Insurance fraud.
I also said insurance fraud.
All right. Mike says that he has heard Dung's name before, but not involved with prostitution, involved with drugs. Mike would at one point tail Dung to follow his activities and let Lois know himself. Mike has become like a private eye for her. And yeah, see the insurance fraud sneak
Yeah.
around there?
Yep.
Yeah,
Yes.
I got you fuckers.
You did.
Shit.
Yep, you got us. Because
Gotta stay on your toes.
before you gave us the options, I was going drugs.
Yeah.
And then you gave us the options, I was like,
Oh, it's
but
got to be insurance
They've already
fraud.
done
I'm
that.
gonna say some of the things he said earlier. All right, Jesse, I see how you're gonna play this.
That's how I always play it.
Okay.
Fast and loose.
Yeah, baby, I'm a loose cannon. Wild card, bitches.
You're a renegade who plays by your own rules. If you
please-
keep this up, I'm gonna need your badge and gun.
Please donate to the Patreon to replace Jesse's mic.
Or go to lonelyfans.com.
Yeah.
Two Z's.
Two Z's. Mike would at one point tell Dung to his activities, and at one point recorded that he, Dung, had been picked up by a group of Mexican men in Hertz rental cars. Specifically Hertz rental cars. Remember we talked about those insurance frauds earlier. Mike would at one point tell Dung to... Nope. After they drove around for a while, Dung was dropped off and picked up at several strip joints around town.
Dropped off and picked up.
Dropped off by one car, and then like a few minutes later, would come back. He'd come out. a different car would pick
he
him
was
up and take him
distributing.
somewhere.
Yeah.
Some of these meetings and pickups and drop-offs would be in the middle of broad daylight. That's good business time for the strip power. What are you gonna like do it while they're there doing their thing?
Yeah.
Like you got to do it when the sun's up.
Day shift, baby.
Yeah, a lot of C-section scars.
Well, the smart thing to do is go in there when the wings are still hot.
Yeah, there you go. A tip the family would later get was in the form of an anonymous phone call in which the caller would state, quote, "The night your daughter got killed, she went snooping and saw some big shot buy coke," end quote. All this does is open a completely new direction that this case could go, that still involves Dung, because he's probably, again, distributing drugs. But this was just perhaps a coincidence and a huge mistake, or just like a prankster, unfortunately. People think this kind of shit is funny. If you do, KYS. I know, Greg, cut it out if you want. When the news of Kate's death got back to the apartment manager at Alvarado Square, he immediately took action. Question number 7. What did the landlord do immediately after hearing of Kate's death? Did he A, change the locks, B, begin to sell Kaitlyn's stuff, C, put the apartment up for rent, or D, sell tickets to tour her apartment?
Dang, just an
Oh,
entrepreneur.
Jesus.
Oh man.
Well, what was the one dude, like American terrorist who, oh fuck, I can't remember. There was saying something similar happened where his landlord was just like, "Fuck it, come in and check it all out, motherfuckers! Like, you got to see this shit."
I don't know. That's
I'll
good for him.
Yeah,
like, that's,
I'll remember, but
cover your nut. Like, you're
Similar
obviously not going to be getting rent from it for a while. You might as well make some scratch while you can.
so did he change the locks, begin to sell Kaitlyn's stuff, put it up for rent, or sell tickets to tour her apartment?
I said change the locks.
What'd you think?
I said put it up for rent.
I mean, eventually he's gonna have to, right?
Yeah.
But the first thing he did was change the lock.
Oh.
Yes, and this is, and I know all of these make him sound nefarious, but change the locks is actually the best possible.
No,
answer.
that's why I didn't go for it, because I was
Yeah.
like, that actually seems like a reasonable course of action.
And he did
like,
this because he was also aware of the arguments between Kate and Dung. He
Yeah.
knew that she wanted to bring in a new roommate. Once he heard that she died, he was like, "Well, I'm locking every motherfucker out of this apartment."
Don't blame him.
Yeah.
This is a defensive showdown here.
What's 250. Yeah,
That's a
it's a
low
pitcher's
score
duel.
Halfway through.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, calm down.
No, I'm
Calm down over there, Greg.
Hey,
What are you trying to say?
what I'm saying is offense wins games, defense wins championships.
Yes. Also, there are some questions coming. I think we've all been multiple choice up to this point. There are some questions coming where like someone's gonna score on them.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just saying it's been a defensive showdown.
Yeah. Hey, you could win with 250. That's all you
Well,
need.
no, you can't.
No, you
Not
can't.
anymore.
Not at this point.
Well, you could if you got 250 and then won an artistic challenge.
Oh, snap.
So he
We
did.
gotta write a rule book, dog.
He did change the locks. The manager was not a big fan of Dung and his friends that were a rowdy and destructive bunch. The landlord was one of the people that Kaitlyn came to when she was worried, as well as having the locks changed on multiple occasions because Dung would make copies of the keys and give them to his friends. And the landlord recalls Dung's friends, who many times could not get in through the keys they had, just smashing windows or kicking in doors in order to gain access to the apartment when Dung and Kate were not home.
What the fuck?
Yeah. Let's take a quick break right here. We got another half of a show to go. Greg's writing down some Simpsons references over there, I see.
We've got 5.
Okay, all right, that's not bad.
That's less than I thought there would be.
Hey, there we go.
But they are some
Hey.
good ones.
Hey. There's still time.
Plenty
There's
of time.
Plenty of time.
Plenty of time.
Plenty of
Plenty of time. All right, let's take 5 here and come back or we'll kill you. Welcome back, everybody, to the Serial Chillers podcast. It's good you're back because we don't have to kill you. I know I say that every time, but what else? You know, like that's
One day somebody's not going to come
That's
back.
right.
That'll be their last day.
So remember, everybody right now is like looking at Dung. He keeps bad company. He's acting. Look,
Shady.
Again, Greg said it best. Like, you don't know how you're going to act when someone close to you dies. Boyfriend and girlfriend can be very close. Like, you don't have to have a piece of paper to be as close. This married
Sure.
couple, it doesn't take that.
Yeah, but if she breaking up with him.
Well, maybe he didn't feel that way though.
That's
you know,
true.
it's not
That's
every
true.
not
Not
every
every
breakup
breakup
is
is-
amicable and
yeah.
mutual for sure. And I don't think for Dung at this point it is. So at some point, Duncan claims to police that Lois is harassing him because she has like a private detective. Well, not an investigative journalist, but essentially at this point he's become, because that's how you become a private detective. There isn't like a test or a license. You say, I'm a private detective, and congratulations, you've just become. Private doesn't mean you're good at it or that you'll get anything out of it, but that's how you become one. At some point, again, Duncan claims that Lois is harassing him. The police essentially just go to Lois and say, like, hey, steer clear of him. Like, come on. Help us help you. If he did it, we're going to find out. You're not going to fucking find out. You know why? We're the police. You're not. So she complies. She's like, all right, fuck it. I'm not going to compromise anything that might come of this. Another angle of the crime comes from the way of Susan, the place where Kate was having dinner just before she was shot in her car. Remember, Susan she was going to pick up ice cream before going to have dinner with Susan.
Yep.
She owned a snow cone or shaved ice cart that she parked out in the front of the Pier 1 at which Kaitlyn worked. Kaitlyn and I are connected in that way. I also used to be a manager at Pier 1 Imports. Worst job I ever had. I hated it. So that's how she and Kaitlyn and Susan connected. Susan hung out in, like, I'm imagining like a mall-like area in which Kaitlyn worked at the Pier 1. Susan rocked the cool snow cone cart. Good friends they became. You know, she probably went outside on breaks. Like, I'm not fucking hanging out in the store on my 10. I'm going to go hang out at the snow cone cart. I used to do that. Hot dog on a stick. A lot of my good, a lot of the good mall friends I had worked a hot dog on a stick. So I was to walk down there and get a fucking brick of pepper jack cheese deep fried in cornbread and be like, hey, so Susan invited Kaitlyn over for dinner and hand drew her a map to her home. Now, remember, kids... We didn't always just have the maps on our phones. And remember,
we're in
not just kids.
1989.
There wasn't even MapQuest, right? Yeah, like you literally kept a road atlas in your car if you needed to find
I remember
use your Garmin.
I used to be a pizza delivery guy pre-cool cell phones. It was like we had a huge map at the pizza place, and then we all kept road atlases for the town.
Got a little Thompson guide in there.
Yeah, exactly. That's what they were called. I was looking for that. Thompson guide.
Thompson or Thomas?
No,
guide?
Thompson. I think it's Thompson.
I think it's Thompson.
It's Thomas guide.
Thomas guide.
It is Thomas guide. Okay.
Was the best of the time.
Yeah.
So some people believe that the map that Susan drew fell into the wrong hands during the day and was copied by someone nefarious. So, you know, hey, I know where Kaitlyn will be later. Others believe that she was followed to Susan's and followed once she left there. So she made it to Susan's. Okay. Like, we know that. She made it there. Another group believes that Susan lured her to her home for someone else to ensure that they knew where Kaitlyn was on the right side of the town the night that she was to die. It's entirely possible that Kate was just having dinner with a new friend on a completely random night that just so happened to be her last on Earth. It was strange that Susan would miss her new friend's funeral, however, because she did not attend it. And when questioned about it later, she said that she didn't make it due to having been bit badly by a dog. Where did I get that answer earlier?
Ooh, throwback.
When later asked about the dog bite, she shows off a scar that was in a straight line, very unlike a bite from an animal. In a coincidence that some point out, Susan's, quote, dog bite scar and Dung's suicide attempt scar are oddly of similar size and appearance. When questioned about it, she says that she will release information from her hospital visit to corroborate her story. Despite being sent forms to release the info on multiple occasions, she never returns any information and would eventually become uncooperative. A short time later, it is said that Susan would move from Albuquerque and change her name. Susan's account of the evening has Kate arriving around 7:30 p.m. and being in a near manic state in which she would be normal for a while and then switch to crazy, sad, and paranoid. Question number 8. What odd task did Kaitlyn supposedly have for Susan? Did she A, ask her to hold a bag but not look inside it? To continuously call her own apartment, have Susan call Kaitlyn's apartment, to hold her while she cried, or to make her hot cocoa instead of having dinner? Take this bag, don't look inside. Can you just please call my apartment a whole bunch? Just hold me while I cry, or make me hot cocoa instead of dinner. She had a weird request when she got there. Which one was it? What'd you say, Danae?
I said B.
I said B.
Continuously call her own apartment. Give them both points. Because, she had Susan continuously call her own apartment over and over to see if Duncan was there. She was instructed to just hang up if he had answered. According to her story, her last call to the apartment was at 10:40 p.m., in which, once again, there was no answer. Then, out of nowhere, Kate remembers that she has a test that she needs to study for, and she needs to go to her apartment.
So she's been sitting there calling her apartment and then was like, oh, shit, I got a test. I got to go there.
This gives us an important point because the official timeline of events has Dung at the apartment beginning around 10 p.m. as it's part of his official alibi. Though the original plan for dinner had her crashing at Susan's, she took off in a hurry. It is during that time she left and she would be gunned down. Early on, it would come out that the official police report had Susan saying that Kate arrived somewhere around 9:30 p.m. This irked Lois because she knew it offered a window in which her daughter was unaccounted for, and she could have gotten into any sort of trouble that no one knew about. Years later, Lois would do an interview that went nationwide, and after it aired, she was contacted by a frantic Susan who was trying to convince her that it was indeed 7:30 when Kate got there, and like something just got lost in translation on the police report. So, there's a lot to this. You've got like a mother who's like very involved, who is very
Trying to solve this.
all right. Wouldn't I mean if I would be too.
That's what mama bears do.
So, the Albuquerque Police Department doesn't believe that it was Dung or Susan or that they really had anything to do with it at all. There's a lot of coincidences. There's a lot of weird ways that people are acting, but there's absolutely no evidence that points at these two people. And acting weird does not get you a conviction.
Yeah,
That's
not
not.
guilty.
It's,
No.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not enough.
You're gonna need some evidence. They have their own suspicions that involve a group of guys who were just joyriding that night. It is said that these guys were bragging all around town about being involved in a shooting on the road that killed someone. Let's remember, too, that as young gangsters, it behooves them to be as tough as possible, and claiming something like this could bolster your standing. So, it's like one of those things where it's like, oh, they heard about a shooting, so they're like, yeah, that was us, motherfuckers.
Yeah.
We were out there and we did that shit. Or did they do
Did
that
you?
shit? Yeah. One of the people in the car that the police believe could have been part of this was Miguel Garcia. He had been said to kill for money. Garcia is arraigned for the crime in 1990, but is released without a trial as no connections could be made. Another of the four inside that gold Camaro was Robert Garcia, who came forward and identified everyone in the car as well as details of the shooting. One witness who saw the gold Camaro recalls hearing someone with a heavy Hispanic accent yell, "You fucking bitch," from the car window during the chase. Despite some evidence we'll later see, a random chase is entirely plausible. Could these men have been hired by Dung, someone associated with Dung? For a mother that just lost a child, being told that it was just a random event was so many seemingly nefarious stories surrounding your daughter would be a very hard pill to swallow. It would.
Absolutely.
All these crazy connections you're noticing between people that are very close to her, and the police are like, no, it's none of that. Trust us. It's these random gangsters just drove by and shot her because they were mad or whatever.
I mean, not beyond the realm of possibility.
Not at all. But as a parent, you would
yeah.
be hard pressed to accept
totally.
that.
Convince
as
me of that.
Yeah. Upon receiving Kate's final phone bill, they would see that only moments after Kate was pronounced brain dead, 3 phone calls were made from an apartment that was supposed to be empty. 2 1-minute calls and 1 2-minute call were made to a number in Santa Ana, California. The apartment that's supposed to be empty is theirs. It's Dung and Kate.
Yeah.
Like that,
Okay.
Just in case. So for Lois, it is hard to believe that these calls weren't made to confirm her daughter's death in some twisted plot. Apparently, the Albuquerque Police Department had been very weird about this investigation. In 1993, when Unsolved Mysteries came out to do an investigation on the crime, the APD refused to be a part of the episode. And I watched the episode, and that's staple Unsolved Mystery is seeing the guy in his uniform, whether he's retired or not. They wear that fucking uniform for the all, you see that. And
They
I
always
watched that
talk to someone
Yes.
involved in the investigation.
None of the police would talk with Unsolved Mysteries. And at this time, Unsolved Mystery, it is a reputable program that has solved numerous crimes. They have legitimate investigators
You
who work
want
for them.
your unsolved crime to get
Yes.
on Unsolved Mysteries
And
because
this has.
they bring in tips that help solve the case.
And the organization with the most information does not want to be involved in the episode. So Unsolved Mysteries noted this is very odd because generally law enforcement agencies they had worked with before are very eager to get an increase in leads and tips. Unsolved Mysteries tells how they had to get the tips, they had to give the tips to police and the family separately due to the strain between them at the time. They couldn't even meet with police. Like, they couldn't have a big meeting of all of them.
Wow.
The police, it wasn't the family that were like, we're not meeting with the police. It was the opposite way around. They were like, we're done with that family right now. We don't have anything further for them. We'll meet with you guys to get the information you need, but we don't want to have anything to do with them. Some of that strain caused by the fact is when they asked for crime scene photos, Lois and Dawn were given 22 by the Albuquerque Police Department. When pressed, they released an additional 58, bringing the number to 80. They knew that a lot more had been taken and questioned number 9. The family would press once more and receive additional photos. How many more additional, don't give me the total, how many more additional photos would they receive? Yeah, get up there, Mo. Okay, Danae.
I said 15.
15 more photos.
102.
102 more photos. Believing that there was more, the family continued to press, and finally the Albuquerque Police Department gave all of the pictures they had left, which was 126 additional photographs, bringing the total to 206. I don't know how it works. Like, if the police have to give the family the crime, you know what I mean? Like, once it's,
I don't want to.
I don't know what. I mean,
and as someone who has worked crime scene and done the photography and had to write the reports, at least now in like the digital age. And I mean, back then they were using film cameras, so I feel like maybe they were a little more selective about what they took.
What they're going to print.
Yeah, and also you had to have a lot more knowledge of the actual mechanics of photography and, you know.
Light meters.
Yeah, and so they could figure out how to take the ideal photo with like one shot. But like in the digital age, when I worked crime scene, there were times that I literally had like 5 identical shots, but I had adjusted shutter speed and whatnot to get the ideal exposure.
Right.
I would only include the ideal exposure in my report and in the photos that I like filed as evidence. Because like, do you really need those other 4? Like,
the family wants them.
So I mean, I don't know if back then
you're thinking maybe that's kind of what it was.
Yeah, they were like, well,
this isn't going to help.
Yeah,
but here it is.
Like, this is literally the same exact shot as this shot, except the shutter speed was adjusted.
Yeah.
You know, whatever. So I don't know what their procedure was in terms of, you know, duplicates. But I know when I worked it, like, there were times when, especially if it was a big scene, I would have 50 plus photos that I didn't include because they were simply the same exact thing as something else that I did include.
Well, the family believes that they still didn't get all of them after this because they saw news footage that had photographs that they didn't receive.
Damn.
Were the what do you call them? The guys who like rush to crime scenes when like it goes out.
Night crawlers.
Yeah, the night crawlers.
Well,
like, was that a thing back then?
Well,
could
I don't
those
know, but
pictures
this is
have been
why
taken by.
This is why they didn't believe it, because the news footage showed photographers in broad daylight taking crime scene photos the following day. It was still roped off.
Okay. Okay.
And all the pictures they got are from the night. Like, so they know that they think that there are more clear photos that were taken during the day that they're not receiving due to that news report. So.
Man.
So at one point there was a meeting between the police and the parents in which the police file was shared with them completely. Open, check it out. Lois and Dawn went through it painstakingly and wrote a letter to the police about some of the inaccuracies, thinking that the police would be appreciative of them. Instead, the police never voluntarily spoke with them again. The worst part for them is that the last meeting, it was said that several letters written in Vietnamese were found in Kaitlyn's desk and would be translated, and they'd let Lois and Dawn know what they said. To this day, neither Lois nor Dawn has ever read any of those letters or heard of them again. There were some other questions about the actions of the Albuquerque Police Department and their actions completely. One of which was the fact that money and drugs had gone missing from the evidence locker, and it was later discovered that an officer was being punished for something inside the Albuquerque Police Department would be assigned to the evidence locker. So that was where you went to, like, whatever. If you were the guy who was like, damn it, Johnson, I'm going to take your badge next time. You're on evidence locker duty. So that's in the biggest shitheads down there. And then all of a sudden, drugs and money were going missing from the evidence locker.
Yeah.
So at the time,
Wait, are these drugs and money from Kaitlyn and Dung's apartment?
No, but they involve the same officers who are working the case.
Gotcha.
And they believe that they are officers who are not doing their jobs very well due to other things that they've gotten into. So at the time, there's just controversy in general going around. The controversy happening at the APD. It was later discovered that if an officer was being punished for something inside the police department, he'd be assigned to the evidence locker, and it was said that many officers would tamper with evidence within their own cases and the cases of other officers. When the investigation was completed, no officers were officially punished for their wrongdoing in the evidence room. The officer widely believed to be responsible for the misconduct in the evidence room shortly after everything had blown over would resign, but eventually become the head of the New Mexico Crime Lab. Terrifying.
Oh,
it's terrifying.
That's a great check of the resume right there.
Yeah. Matt Griffin was apparently quite a prominent officer at the APD and had been previously cleared before in a questionable police shooting. He turned out to be a bank robber by the name of the Ninja Bandit.
Sweet.
Nice.
Yeah, so that was another guy. So this isn't the guy who ran the crime lab. Another of those officers who was maybe part of the evidence. He was a part. When they were all a part of it, they just didn't get charged with anything. He was a Ninja Bandit, bank robber. That's fun.
He watched Home Alone and was like, sticky bandits, dumb.
So when your
wet bandits, Marv.
When your department comes under investigation, many things also come to light. So when it's for one thing, other things come to light. It would also come to light that question number 10, at this time, the Albuquerque Police Department averaged a police shooting at what percentage higher than the national average?
600% higher.
Wow. At what percentage higher than the national average? Rules. All right, Cheyenne, what percentage higher than the national?
24%.
24%.
I said 30%.
Give Danae the points because at the time, the Albuquerque Police Department averaged a police shooting at 96% higher than the national average, nearly doubling the national average.
Should have listened to me.
Years later, a distraught mother named Linda Romero was talking to a police officer after her son had been killed mysteriously. When the conversation became heated due to her emotion, an officer told Linda, "We know who killed your son, just like we know who killed Kaitlyn Arquette," before adding, "Forget that you heard that."
What an idiot. What an absolute moron. That fucking tool. Like, how do you fumble the bag that bad?
That's such a, like comic book super villain move. Like,
that's what I was going to
say.
It's either you do know about it and you're such a shithead that you're like, hey, shut the fuck up and listen. Or you don't know about it and you were just trolling her to be just the biggest dick on the planet.
And then as soon as it came out of your mouth, you were like,
hey,
no, you didn't hear that.
I just imagine him going, hey, forget you heard that. Even though we're in Albuquerque.
Even though, hey,
I'm transferred from New Jersey.
Yeah.
So another person close to the family claims to have heard the chief of police say Chief Police Sam Baca state that Kate had been killed by a Vietnamese with a very offhand comment. So he's just like at a dinner one night and he's like, oh yeah, that Kate Arquette was killed by this Vietnamese guy. And then, and he was just like at dinner and it was just so blasé and just passed. And it was
it's crazy to me that they talk like that about like horrific shit like that, and it makes me think of like Vanessa Bryant's lawsuit against the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department for them like taking pictures of Kobe's crash and then sharing them.
Oh yeah.
Like, I mean, this is like a tragic event for these people, and they're just like, we know who did it, but like, what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
So years later, it also come out that a man named Paul Apodaca, who was a registered sex offender and a known carjacker, was at the scene when police arrived, but was never questioned. To pull some pressure off police, it should be noted that they had who they believed had done it at the time. So Paul Apodaca wasn't like someone they were looking at. They had the foreman in the gold Camaro.
That's such a good name. I wish he wasn't such a scumbag.
Paul
Yeah.
Apodaca.
Palapadaka?
Yeah.
Like, that's
Blah, blah, blah.
It
Check
very
out
much.
blah, 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 blog.
Blah, 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 blah.
On blah, 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 blog.
So they had him on like a witness list.
Yes.
And then somebody like cross-referenced it later and was like, hey, this dude was,
Yeah, a carjacking rapist.
Yeah.
I thought it was a fake name. He said his name was Palapadaka.
So they don't want new information for two reasons. One is they think they know who it was, and the other was mentioned to Lois by an angry detective when he said, when you force info on us, you make it available for the defense. So Lois received this as dismissive, and if it were my child who was murdered, I would likely feel the same. But it makes sense too. Like
Yeah.
if you're bringing
Yeah.
information, the defense could also be like, "Oh yeah, we're fucking taking that because that
Yeah.
will help us way more than it will help you." So there is a science to it,
Yeah,
there is
because I mean, there's going to be stuff that the detectives know that isn't necessarily included in any kind of official report, and so it doesn't have to be turned over to the defense when that time comes. So, maybe there's things that they're like going, yeah, we know, but now that you said you like,
yeah. Now we have to tell them.
yeah.
So, however it was 100% true, each alternative suspect the family put forward gave the defense one more line of evidence against their clients in the car, mainly Miguel Garcia. The police want someone behind bars for the crime, and they believe they have the right guys for the crime. At this point, anything that is not agreeing with them, they do not want to hear. 'Cause, I mean, they're like at trial. Like, they're done. Like, hey, we have the evidence we
We're
need.
not gonna keep
We
searching
don't
here.
need more.
We're
Trust
done
us.
with discovery.
Yeah. So Lois and her family also want someone behind bars, but all the evidence is pointing to something much bigger than a random shooting. They're seeing it from a different.
Yeah,
they
so
can't see it from the same scope.
It might not even be malicious on the police part.
Yeah.
They might truly believe like, hey, these are our guys, and you're just muddying up the court case by bringing all these other.
You're introducing reasonable doubt.
Exactly.
Stop.
Like, stop it. We got the guys. Like.
So we'll go back a little and examine some of the people surrounding the victim of this attack and the injuries they would also go through. We know that Dung's attempted suicide wound and Susan's terrible dog bite. So there's that. In addition to that, some of the people in the Camaro was Ray and two of his closest women best friends had their arms and wrists slashed in separate attacks. The rumored triggerman of the Joyriders was shot in the stomach in another, quote, suicide attempt. So this is like, you hear those like cursed films where everybody connected, like that's happening. Everybody who's connected to the gold Camaro,
Something's happening.
something's happening.
It's Final
That's a lot of
Destination.
coincidences.
Yeah.
And
we
you know what I
which-
say.
It's Final Destination.
Yeah. So, question number 11. Something also happened to the whistleblower of the Camaro van. Remember we talked about him?
Yes.
He's like, I was in there. It was these motherfuckers. What happened to him? Was it A, he was run off the road and intimidated? B, he was beaten to within an inch of his life? C, his dog was killed as a message? Or he was found dead in an alley?
I would love for somebody to run me off the road and try and intimidate me. I'm in a fucking car.
This is as close to a tank as I'm allowed to buy.
Right.
So run off the road and intimidated, beaten to within an inch of his life, had his dog killed as a message, or he was found dead in an alley.
Just run me off the road. They're like,
Some
you better
fucking
shut up.
psychopath killed his dog.
That would be sad.
I said he was found dead in an alley.
Well, give Danae 250 points because the whistleblower we spoke of before, who outed everyone in the car, was found dead in an alley. For a case with this much media coverage, you would think that some type of positive break would have been made by now. There's a lot of shit happening.
Snitches get
Yeah.
stitches.
Or
Or
there's-
ditches.
I was going to say, the only
Snitches get
stitches are going to be
ditches.
right here. and then right here.
Yeah.
That's the only one.
The big Y.
He still got stitches.
Yeah.
That just gave you the lead. You took the lead back.
Sweet.
Rub it in there, Greg.
No, I'm just.
750 to 500?
It's 751,000.
Okay.
751,000. So you're right there in it. I was just
Okay.
giving it up.
And we have 3 questions remaining, and they're going to come.
I'm providing color commentary.
All right.
Okay.
So yeah, it's a case that it seems like there would be more coming
Yeah.
out of,
Yeah.
and there just is not. Aside from that, unsolved mysteries that we mentioned, there was a story of Lois that appeared on Larry King Live, which is a lot of people watch that show. Then a lot of people watch it even now, and he's like
Wait.
barely alive.
Okay. I hope there are no listeners going, Who's Larry
Yeah,
King?
he's still on TV.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
He just interviewed somebody not too long ago, like somebody famous.
I don't pay attention to that shit.
Yeah, me neither.
My favorite one is a recent one he
Sure,
did with
Greg.
Danny Putty, Abed.
Yeah.
And he was like, "What's a nice thing you like?" And he's like, "I don't know, like a nice pair of socks." And he's like, "A nice pair of socks." He's like, "What is that?" And he's like, well, "What do you want, Larry?" He's like, "Oh, like a private jet." He's like, "Larry, I'm on DuckTales."
Yeah.
I like that.
Private
Put him in his place. So the story is also featured on episodes of Sightings and Inside Edition, which aren't like known
Edition.
for their like amazing journalism, but if you can get eyes on your story, why not?
Well, and I feel like even if they're not known for their amazing journalism, like
People are watching it.
Inside Edition, like people are watching.
Yeah, that's the original TMZ, bitches.
I was gonna say that was on at the same. That was the created to combat extra.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Pat O'Brien. So, for an added bonus, for some of you that like the supernatural side, this is something that like I never really like look at in cases. A lot of cases have them, and I'm usually like, I don't know shit about that. Kelly G does. Kelly G brings it to us, so we get something.
Bring it, Kelly
Get a little
G.
extra
Bring it,
spice
girl.
when Kelly G
You get a little
brings it.
extra. You get a little supernatural flavor.
Yeah. So, not that it's not a cool direction. Again, it's just something that I'm like, I can't touch that. I don't know shit about that. So Lois Duncan, as we mentioned, was a writer, quite a prolific one at that. You guys know some of her work. For sure you do. For sure everyone has, because one of her books was turned into a very famous movie. Question number 12. What work was arguably her most famous due to it being made into a hit movie? Is it A, Fight Club, B, I Know What You Did Last Summer, C, Urban Legend, or D, Final Destination?
So I know what it is, but when I looked up there, it's not there, and I was like, "The one I thought it was isn't in those answers." I thought it was Scream.
Oh.
Fight Club, I Know What You Did Last Summer, Urban Legend, or Final Destination. Shy, what'd you say?
I Know What You Did Last Summer.
I went with Final Destination.
Give Shy 250 points
Knocks
because
it back
is
up.
a movie that has been made from it. Lois actually seems to have hated the movie, but she liked her novel. That's the way it goes when authors usually have movies made of their work. So, yeah, I figured everybody likely knows that one. She did write I Know What You Did Last Summer, which I didn't even know was based on a book until Kelly G sent me this. So, let's start with Lois Duncan's work as a whole. Many of her books and characters could be considered prophetic or at least very interestingly coincidental. Her book Ransom was about school children kidnapped on a school bus in Livermore, California.
Remember that?
Oh my god.
Yeah, but
They buried it.
she wrote this book before that happened.
Oh, shit.
And,
soon after
Like,
publication,
and
a similar
Livermore,
crime...
California is like the most like we all know it because we live
Because we live close to it.
nearby. But like it's like the most random ass town.
And it would take place in a very similarly random town, the actual crime, because soon after publication, a similar crime was carried out in real life where a bus full of children, 26 children, and a bus driver were kidnapped from Chowchilla, California, and buried in a box truck in a quarry
Chowchilla.
in Livermore, California. That's where they were buried.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
I was going, okay, like I thought it was Livermore.
sounds-
Like
Yeah,
I was like
she
going,
wrote
I'm
the
pretty sure it
book.
was Livermore,
It
but
was
then you were talking, I
published-
was like going, wait, maybe I'm thinking it was Livermore, but it was just somewhere nearby.
Yep. Chowchilla to
But it
Livermore.
was actually wow.
So in her book, Don't Look Behind You, the heroine April, who Lois had based on Kate, was chased by a hitman in a Camaro, and one of the things rumored to have happened to Kate that night. So
What the
also
fuck?
in Don't Look Behind You, the name of the hitman is Mike Vamp, according to Robert Garcia, the whistleblower of the Joyride. The triggerman Miguel's Garcia nickname was Vamp, short for vampire. Right after the Matt Griffin and Ninja Bandit APD scandal came out, NBC purchased the film rights to her book, Killing Mr. Griffin, which became a TV movie starring some people like Amy Jo Johnson, the Pink Ranger, Mario Lopez, fucking AC Slater.
Hell yeah.
I wonder how many chairs he sat backwards in that movie.
All of them.
Every single one.
Had to
Every
be.
single one.
His back's got to be shit.
In her book, Summer of Fear, the
why he works
heroine's
out so much
boyfriend is named Mike Gallagher. This is also the name of the New Mexico journalist who helped her out so much and published the first major story questioning the case.
Damn.
What the?
And remember, the book was written prior to her meeting and hiring Mike Gallagher. Noreen Rainier, a psychic Lois enlists, describes the perpetrator to Mike Deal, a police sketch artist she used to get images of her visions, and his sketch is virtually the same as the drawing as the villain on the British version of Don't Look Behind You. So, and the thing about that is that, like, this book did not make it to America. Like, you would have been you would have known somebody who lived over there who got it and brought it over. Like, it wasn't such an amazing book and cover that you sought out the British version in the 80s and had it imported.
Yeah, well, because you didn't have the internet. So, like, a lot of people probably weren't even aware that, like, different countries had different covers. And
just another connection to the books and the crimes. Within days of Kate's death, her closest sister Robin had been to a local psychic, Betty Minch, who uses a process called automatic writing. She sits at a typewriter and types what is channeled to her. Over the years, Betty's readings are some of the most valued for Lois. They tell of a deep-seated emotional connections that could not be more true. Some of Betty's insights and predictions about the case include one alleged gunman, another of the joyriders, being held in a recently emptied garage, a place that turned out to exist and be a hotbed for both police and Vietnamese crime. This was some of the controversial stuff that we were talking about earlier with the APD.
Controversy.
Also, the name of the car company used in some of the California scams came directly from one of her readings. They would not have found out so much information about the wrecks without these psychic readings. So, personally, I'm a person who does not believe in psychic readings, but there are people who believe it, and there are people who does not believe in it, who's also like, yeah, but how the fuck?
Yeah.
You know,
and that's one of those things that, like, I can't help but feel obligated to at least consider a possibility, because sometimes there are these stories that you're just like,
according to the CIA,
Wow.
there's a sixth sense that sensitive people can tap into.
Yeah, and
they studied it for 3 decades.
It's kind of like, for me, ghosts too. Like, there are so many, like, unexplains that, like, okay, even if some of them are bullshit or people project whatever, like, there still has to be a certain amount of,
it's like that with aliens too, right? It's like mathematically impossible that there wouldn't be something
exactly,
right?
And also because so many of the reports across
of us
time and culture are so similar, like, and it's like, how can they be reporting the same thing in, like, you know, ancient Greece as the Mayans are? Like,
yeah,
there's no cross-cultural
They didn't have the internet then? So these readings, again, they think are very hard to understand, but Lois says they need to be interpreted. For example, about Dung, Betty wrote, "It is not as if he will have to be the one to do this, but he will seem to know who did it." So this is her free writing about Dung. Many things that Betty says point to Dung's...
Free writing's crazy, too.
Yeah. We need to bring it in as a side thing. I'd love to hear more about it if you know something.
Okay.
Duly noted.
Okay, Jesse.
But just as many. Remember, I have final say. You wrote the rules. I didn't even write that.
I know what I'm doing.
But
Section
just
A1.
as many point to other wicked entities. So these free writings also say that, like, you know, Dung might know something, but there's plenty of other stuff out there. At some point, Lois becomes very open to the possibility Kate still exists on some plane of existence. Is it supernatural and somehow fate that one of the bullets went right through God's fingerprint, the indentation visible at birth? This is an excerpt from Who Killed My Daughter. In it, Lois having a supernatural experience and is a tad... this is kind of heartbreaking. So just...
Bear down.
Yeah, okay. Exactly. So this is one of the books she wrote after... The only books she wrote after Kate died were about Kate's death. This one is called Who Killed My Daughter. They were both referenced throughout by Kelly G. That they were in the initial thing, but okay. It says, "I want to hold my baby," I whispered, and something wonderful happened. I lifted my arms and felt them close around the chubby body of a 3-year-old. The child was positioned as though I had her on my lap facing outward and her back pressed against my chest. Although I knew I had to be dreaming, I wasn't asleep. I was keenly aware of every aspect of my physical surroundings. I gingerly pulled up the child's pajama top and felt the smooth, damp skin of her chest rhythmically rising and falling beneath the palm of my hand. I lowered my hand and slid it the elastic waistband, gently caressing the familiar around belly. I was under no illusion that the body was physical. Kate was dead, and her corpse lay rotting in the cemetery. Yet this was the gift I had asked for. In sensation, if not actually, I was holding my baby. After a while, I said thank you and released her to God. So, that's...
The mind's a powerful thing, though.
Yeah,
like,
it's so heavy.
Yeah.
because there's the little your brain does all kinds. It's just like electric jello in there doing shit, and it can make you feel and think and see all kinds of stuff. Like you dream and you're fully immersed in these dreams and living this life. And so I think if you get, and the body also does stuff to protect itself, like to keep your vital organs alive. It diverts blood flow from your fingertips and your toes first and starts killing off non-essential stuff to keep essential stuff running. So I think sometimes maybe if you get far enough into like a pit of grief or something like that, to keep your brain okay, it gives you something
that.
like that. It gives you some shit that you actually need.
And we understand so little of how the brain actually works.
Oh yeah.
That, I mean, that's actually a really interesting argument for basically that all these ghost sightings of dead loved ones and whatnot, it's not them, but it's a function of our brain we don't understand.
It's a survival technique.
And so that's why they're similar across time and culture, because it's a thing our body does that we don't understand.
Yeah.
And we haven't changed much in the last 100,000 years.
Yeah.
Jinx.
Yeah. So another thing happened where one night Lois told an empty room, essentially a message for Kate. She tells her that she's going to leave her mind open in her sleep, and that night she dreams of Kate's calendar and an entry for an appointment with Roxanne. The last image she was left with in the dream was a pink heart. Lois follows up and finds out Kate had an appointment with Roxanne, her hairdresser, the day she dreamed about on the calendar. Roxanne tells her that she and Kate were close and that she mentioned she was also close with Dung. She said that Dung is the one who called the night to tell her she had been killed before midnight, something her husband confirms. Keep in mind, Kate isn't dead
didn't
before
get to the
midnight.
hospital till 3.
She had been shot, but she was not dead. Also, keep in mind that Dung claims he didn't know about the shooting until police came to notify him at the bequest of Lois after they had seen her in the hospital. So that was about 3 a.m.
Yeah, I was going to say he wasn't even supposed to know about her being
and she didn't die
injured.
until 20 hours after.
Yeah, but I mean, like, he wasn't even supposed to have known about her being injured at that point in time.
So when Lois meets Roxanne, she sees her pink heart tattoo, a tattoo she had gotten recently since Kate's death. Was this a message from Kate? Does she still exist? As we know, she couldn't possibly have known about the heart tattoo, as she got it after her death. So one of the saddest things is how this affected Lois Duncan, an innocent, almost naive mother. Lois printed flyers asking for information on her daughter's death. So that's like where she is now. She's like printing flyers and hanging them up, and you like going back to basics, you know. While hanging them, she was followed, chased, and deterred from hanging flyers many times. The one thing she could think to do was thwarted. So, leaving her feeling more helpless, the guys who chased her... that was leaving her more helpless. The guys who chased her, like what... Or, you know...
Well, that's
Why?
yeah.
Like
why?
some people
why
say, like,
are
is this
you-
part of the conspiracy? Do they just not want this tiny woman hanging flyers on their turf?
Yeah.
Did who knows?
I don't know. That seems a little. I'm leaning the conspiracy route because that seems weird. Like
Yeah,
that that anyone would chase off a woman just posting,
and she wasn't
like,
chased
missing,
off from hanging all of them.
Yeah.
Just in certain places she was chased off. And at some point, Lois and Dawn are named as the source of the flyers. Their names, and they begin getting death threats for hanging the flyers.
Oh.
There was a night where she and Dawn went to visit friends, and by the time they were ready to leave, she had freaked herself out so much that they had to spend the night because she was too afraid to go home. She couldn't write fiction for years afterwards, citing a lack of energy. And
That makes me think of that scene in Parks and Rec where Chris Pratt's looking out the window when he like moves to London or whatever, and Ben's like, "Are you okay?" And he goes, "Yeah, it's just I don't have energy anymore. I sleep all the time or not enough. So the things I used to like, I don't enjoy doing anymore. I don't have an appetite, so I'm not hungry." And it's just, I'm like, yeah, that's what this sounds like.
Yeah. Well,
that's depression.
Called depression.
Yeah. You're in it. You're in it, sis.
So, question number 13. It's sad, but in what year did Lois Duncan die?
closest to?
Closest to gets 250. If you nail it, you're going to get 500 points. Not 1,000.
I have to change some of these rules then.
Well, some of them are just like the options aren't like that widespread, you know. At the beginning, it's 1,000 because it could be 1814, it could be 2007.
No, I got you.
We have like a general area that we're in right now.
I can fix this.
You guys got your answers? Shy, you got something written down over there?
I do, but give me a second.
1.
Okay.
You're that guy?
All right. Danae, what'd you say?
I said 2004.
2000.
I said 1993.
1993. Give Cheyenne 500 points.
Damn.
Oh, look, he's
man.
factually trying to
You know what? I'm sorry. I'm wrong.
I knew it. I knew it. Just the look
doing
on
the
his
math,
face.
aren't you?
He's factually checking
It's not even
that.
a math thing because Danae gets 250 actually. It's not a math thing. It's that she did initially have a very bad stroke in 1993.
Oh, he was looking at the wrong
But he
I
number.
was looking at the wrong
Die.
day. She
She
did not
didn't
die. Let me just go on the story here. I apologize, Cheyenne.
It's okay.
So Danae with 250.
250 for Danae, not
So-
500 for Cheyenne. My
so
apologies, but that's how the game works.
Quick update on the score. It is 1250 to 1000. There is one question remaining.
Oh, shit.
And it is
Only
an
one.
open-ended question.
So-
one of you is going to score. So
So-
if it is Cheyenne,
If it is Cheyenne, we are going to an artistic challenge. The first
Oh,
one,
man.
the first one since we've been back and on video media.
Oh, damn. I could draw a stick figure.
Okay.
It's not about the art. It is
about-
not.
Okay.
We'll
It's
cover.
covering
about
to your
the
judge.
art.
Yeah, we'll cover it. I'm gonna make sure. I should make sure to put that in the rule book.
Okay.
but that is if you get it, Shy.
Okay.
Okay.
But it is, somebody is going to get it. So I apologize
yeah.
for the
Ooh,
mishap
this is a
here.
I
nail-
forgive you.
But
This
in
is a nail
1993,
biter.
Lois did have a very severe stroke. Doctors
broken
tell her
heart.
that she is otherwise healthy, but did have a stroke that they believe is due in cause to her stress. In 1996, she suffered partial paralysis caused by another massive stress-induced seizure that trashed her nervous system. She recovered, but eventually it is what would lead to her death. And on June 15th, 2016, due to an undisclosed reason, Lois passed away. It was revealed that she suffered from a series of strokes in later years. And what's also messed up is because of this tragedy, the family had to ask themselves what nefarious things was Kate involved in, even if she didn't want to be. So there's like,
Yeah.
I think that killed
Mom.
Lois
Yeah.
Duncan. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and then, after one stroke, there's all sorts of brain damage, and
Yeah,
that could have
yep.
heavily contributed to her depression. And
Yep, and Lois' last years were spent wondering what Kate did wrong to get herself into a situation that would get her killed. A random shooting would be less sad, maybe more tragic, but wouldn't have the family question Kate's motives. When Kate was still alive, Dawn and Lois went to San Diego, and Kate was recruited to feed the cat, as well as tape LA Law for them. When they got home, Kate had left a large tray of food out, and the cat was hungry as neighborhood cats had helped themselves and emptied the tray. She had also neglected to tape LA Law and said the VCR wasn't working. After her death, it is found out that the VCR worked just fine, and they were wondering, like, what was she up to,
yeah, what was
It's
she
not
doing
like
instead
her.
of being at the house with the
Yes.
cat?
Yeah, so they were kind of wondering, like, what terrible things could she have been off doing during these days? Everything is questioned after this. There isn't a lot of concrete evidence that can be looked back upon now that we live in the future. No DNA in the age. No bullets were ever found, only tiny fragments. There is evidence that one bullet hole found in the door of the car is of a different caliber than the ones in her head. This may suggest 2 guns, but it can't be proven. Not to make it more complicated, but to sum up, we are left with several theories. Prior to some new information, these are all leading theories, and random shooting, guys joyriding, right? A carjacking, certainly reprehensible folks around, but no one has mentioned it. But what if it was sexually motivated? Kate was a pretty blonde woman. She knew too much about the Vietnamese car scams and drugs. Someone watched her, followed her, and killed her. The Vietnamese had hired the guys to do the joyride. So double, or she knew too much about some sort of drug thing that she may have witnessed, that phone call that she, the cocaine thing. Either night, she died at Pier 1 or literally anywhere else. There's some missing pieces here. And there's a lot of different ways you could go. The cops stopped her that night. The plainclothes officer is like, that's one of the theories. Could have killed her as well. There could be a multitude of reasons. Was he in bed with the Vietnamese? Because remember, there's that one shop where the police and the Vietnamese were working together in a chop scheme. It's crazy. There's a lot, and normally we don't do unsolved crimes, which is why question number 14. This case would eventually be solved. In what year?
Now, there's a couple of strategies at play here.
I don't do well with strategies.
Well,
No,
your strategy
I think I'm
is
already
keep your
thinking it.
answer to yourself.
Yeah.
Your strategy would be to answer whatever she answers.
But you got to write it down. So
Yeah.
keep your answer to yourself. Okay, so this is one where if you were paying attention, it might be helpful, but it's 500 points. If you could nail it, it's 250 points to the closest.
This is it. This is like Cheyenne controlling the ball, coming down the court, like standing at the logo, Dame time.
No pressure.
Like,
no pressure.
does she pull up and nail the logo 3 to win the game, or
No.
does she drive to the hoop and go for the 2-point for the layup to tie
I
it?
missed completely.
No, you got this. I mean, I want to see it go to overtime. I love a barn burner.
Okay, got your answers?
No.
Yep.
Okay, Danae, let's get yours first.
I said 2016.
Shut the fuck up. I said 2016.
Oh, which means Cheyenne cannot win it.
Oh my god.
No. So it was 2021.
Oh my
They
god.
made some resolution to the crime fairly recently. Luckily, there'd been some resolution that comes of it because thanks to this investigation outside the family,
Wow, so
we would
just
get
2
this.
years ago.
In a 1995, a private investigator would watch the Sally Jesse Raphael show, which also featured this case. The PI, Pat Caristo, would contact the show and say that they have info for Lois and the police that they had missed in the investigation. Caristo had knowledge of the case because she stated that her PI business in Albuquerque at the time and was hired by a lawyer who was doing insurance work who was involved in the case. So not part of the murder, but she was a PI for one of the car insurers. Caristo had knowledge of the case because she had started her PI business in Albuquerque and was hired to do the insurance case. So Pat became very familiar with a lot of the details of the case, and while combing through a police file, Pat notices the presence of a 21-year-old man on the scene who was actually seen standing next to the car when police arrived. Believing him to just be a sad soul that had found a dead body and, someone who'd come up and trying to help, they take his contact info but never run his name or contact him. That man's name, we have mentioned before, Paul Apodaca.
Palapadaka.
Palapadaka was driving a primer-painted VW Beetle and was again seen standing next to the car when the police arrived. He told police he was passing by and saw the car, which looked as if it had been in an accident, and was trying to help. Pat Caristo ran his info and found that Apodaca had an extensive background of criminal activity, including multiple violent attacks against women, and in 1990 fired a .22 caliber pistol out of the window of a moving car, hitting someone in the back. In 1995, he was tried and convicted of raping his 14-year-old stepsister and sentenced to 9 years in prison. He says that he did this so that he could get into prison with his brother, who was in serving time for murder. Lois would then hire Pat to look into things more, and Pat surmised that Kaitlyn's car had been hit by at least one vehicle, according to the damage on the left rear bumper of the side panel. She also believed that, contrary to popular belief, Kaitlyn had been shot and then the car crashed into a pole, and some tamperer coming and putting the car into park, which was more likely that she was rammed, hit the pole, and put her car in park, and she was shot at close range. So that's what police believe, that she was rammed. It knocked the car into park. Someone came and shot her. Pat saying, no, she was shot. They rammed the car, and someone came in and put the car in park. There are many questions that are unanswered from that day, including why no bullets were ever recovered, why the bullet that hit the frame of the car seemed to be of a much larger caliber, leading to one to believe the 2 different guns were used, and why did police leave the scene before EMTs arrived, as well as the first arriving officers having conflicting stories of their accounts with Paul Apodaca. In 2003, the Bernalillo County Cold Case Squad determined that Kate had been shot after the car was stopped due to the accuracy of the shots. This is information that Pat put forth nearly 10 years prior. In 2012, Apodaca was convicted of attacking his girlfriend and taking her car and was sentenced to 12 years in prison, but only served 8. And in July of 2021, he was arrested on the campus of University of New Mexico for parole violation. Almost immediately after his arrest, he decided that now is the time to admit to the killing of 3 women, one of which was Kaitlyn Arquette. He is said to have done this over an extreme hatred of women.
So they didn't figure it out. He ratted himself out.
Correct. Another one of his victims was 21-year-old University of New Mexico student Althea Oakley, who was attacked and stabbed to death in June of 1988 as she walked home from a party near the campus. It was discovered that Apodaca had been working as a security guard on the campus at the time of the murder. The other victim was 13-year-old Stella Gonzalez, who was shot to death while walking home with her friend at a party near Tenji Beach in September of 1988. He also confessed to 3 rapes that took place in the early 1990s, and DNA evidence linked him to one of the rapes in 1993. In August of 2021, Apodaca, then 53, was arrested and charged with Althea's murder, and in December he was also charged with Stella's. Finally, in February of 2022, he was indicted for Kaitlyn's murder. Wow. According to police, his confession contained details that, quote, only the killer would know. He is currently awaiting trial, and it is no longer believed that Kaitlyn's death is related to insurance scams, drugs, the Vietnamese, police, or anybody who had previously mentioned. Sadly, Lois passed away at the age of 82 on July 15th of 2016 without seeing this case solved. Kaitlyn's sister, Carrie, later went on to become a criminologist because of this murder and everything that she had.
Wow, good for her.
Her mom passed away the day before the anniversary.
Yeah. And didn't get to see it solved. So, congratulations, Danae.
Congratulations,
are the
Danae.
victor. That was a close one.
It really was. I mean, you took the logo shot. I'd shout out. It was a good attempt. And
who would have thought that they would have been
so?
Yeah.
I mean, it was a great shot. It just went thunk off the back of the rim. It happens.
It does happen. Danae, victory lap. Anything you want to say?
No.
Yeah, don't be too mean to Mama Shy. People like her.
I was gonna say you are like the most gracious loser on the show.
Thanks.
Well, because like when you came on with Clay, and he won, you were like, "Great job,
great job." You gotta pump
and
him
then
up.
when Kim was on, 2 weeks
ago,
ago,
you compete with your children a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. When Kim was on, you were like, with her friend
Monique.
Yeah. And Monique won, and Kim was like, "Great job."
Aw, pass it on.
See, I feel like I can't even gloat because it was so close.
It was a very.
It was
a nail biter right there.
It was a nail biter.
It was like I feel like I can't really gloat.
I also had the mistake
victory,
in there that would have swung it, so I do apologize for that again.
Yeah.
You guys don't win anything, so remember it doesn't matter that much. But
we got stickers.
Yeah, we did.
And those will be available on the store. I'll move that into. Check us out, guys. Go to serialchillerspod.com. It has links to everything that we do. If it's not on there, we're probably not active there.
Does it have a link to OnlyFans? No.
OnlyFans or Lonely?
Does it have a link to LonelyFans?
No one has my OnlyFans.
Greg, we don't want to know about your OnlyFans, just your LonelyFans.
I do.
That's the LonelyFans.
Just send that one personally to me. No, it doesn't, but I'll make sure we link that, buddy. I mean, technically it does because it goes to the place, but you can find out everything there. You guys, give to the show at Patreon. If you don't want to do a monthly thing, you can do that.
Just want to one-time message us some Bitcoin or something, you can do that.
You could try.
So Shauna,
we'll auction up a Mama Shy original doodle work while we talk criminals.
Yeah, if you give to the Patreon, that might end up in your envelope because we do put a lot of these fun doodles.
You have put in so much effort into decorating those. I've been loving it. I've just been watching you. The very first one that had your answer on it that was wrong, and it said, "No, stupid."
I'm gonna have to get more creative with
I
my.
write what I can't say.
No, I get it.
Greg sees all.
I've been
start-
watching him dying over here. I've
Oh
been
man,
loving it.
I feel like I gotta start decorating my answer cards now because
Mama Shy might not win a lot, but she does set the bar high.
I do the minimum.
I am a doodler.
Oh my gosh. Well, yeah, go to the serialchillerspod.com. No, just serialchillerspod.com.
Yeah.
I'm old. I put the in front of everything.
It's on the internet.
Yeah,
World Wide
serialchillerspod.com. It's
The
got all of the
interwebs.
information. Yes. Also, I do streaming a couple nights a week. You can also find that on serialchillerspod.com. But if you're on Twitch, just find me at Cromulent Jesse. Hella Greg, anything you'd like to add, buddy?
Lonelyfans with 2z's.com.
Take you where you need to go.
Yeah, it'll get you where you need to go. There's only 5 Simpsons references in this whole episode.
Oh,
What a fucking letdown.
What did we put the over under at? 10?
I think we said 9. I think so that way 10 would be the winner, yeah. Or 9.5, but yeah.
Work harder next time.
We gotta squeeze them in there.
I don't think we had any in the second half.
I'm squeezing. Ooh, he's trying. Oh wait, I can get that. So 6. We made it to 6.
Ladies, anything else you'd like to add at the end here?
I don't think so. If I can do a little self promo.
Yeah.
If you look me up on Instagram, my Instagram is Opaline Twist Opaline_twist.
Spell it. Better spell it.
Yeah, OPALINE
Underscore.
_
Twist. TWIST. Just for those dum-dums.
Thank you.
Yeah, sorry. It's a play on like 1920s slang, and it basically says it means white girl.
Oh, okay. All right. That's fun.
Because twist was, in the 1920s, a twist was a chick.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't around then.
Well, I did my research. And then, opaline, opalescent, white.
Oh, all right. Look at that.
So
That's
white,
fun.
white girl. Anyway, my business Instagram got hacked, and I haven't been able to get back into it. So
That's fun.
everything's just on my personal right now. But I make spooky, sassy mugs and stuff, and
So follow and fucking check that stuff out.
Yeah,
I was gonna
so-
say you're active in the Discord too, so you can drop links.
oh yeah, there we go. I'll do
put
that.
it into self-promotion.
Yeah,
for
'cause
sure.
It's
I
it's
actually-
not
Just for
streamers,
for the
but
streamers.
I was actually kicking myself yesterday because I was like, I should have made them a mug. Like, because I do graphic design. So, like, I put the shit
Next
together
time.
and I was like,
there's always
But,
next
like,
time.
a lot of my designs are, like, they're spooky or quirky or, sassy in some sort of
So
way.
you weirdos will
I
like it.
feel like you guys will like them. So,
Fair.
yeah. So, I'm on there and I do mugs and I'm starting on tote bags. And,
Check that shit out. You can get a tote bag, put your mug inside.
Yeah.
yeah.
Hell
yeah.
yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, then, for Danae, for Mama Shy, for Hella Greg, and Namosini,
Mosey.
I am Cromulent Jesse. And remember, don't talk to strangers.
Or do not get killed.
Okay, bye.
Air Bullet.